Guess what? Twice a year, millions of people wake up disoriented because we collectively agreed to move time. Not the sun, not the earth, not the rotation of the planet. Time. We lose an hour, we gain an hour, we argue about it, and then we do it again. Daylight saving time feels ancient, practical, inevitable. It isn't. It's a social experiment that never fully ended. This is Guess What?, where the systems we live inside usually turn out to be more fragile than they look. For most of human history, time was local. Noon meant the sun was at its highest point, wherever you were. Villages kept their own time, cities adjusted by observation. There was no need for national synchronization because there were no national schedules. That changed in the 19th century AD. Railroads expanded rapidly across Europe and North America. Suddenly, trains needed coordinated schedules across long distances. If every town kept its own solar time, collisions became a real possibility. Standardized time zones were introduced in the late 1800s AD, aligning large regions under single clock systems. Once time became standardized, it became controllable. And once it became controllable, someone wondered if it could be shifted. The concept often gets incorrectly attributed to Benjamin Franklin. In 1784 AD, while in Paris, he wrote a satirical letter suggesting that people could save candles by waking earlier in the morning to use natural sunlight. It was a joke. He never proposed changing clocks. The first serious proposal came much later, from George Hudson in 1895 AD. He was an entomologist in New Zealand who wanted more evening daylight to collect insects after work. He suggested moving clocks forward in the summer months. His motivation wasn't agriculture, it wasn't national energy policy, it was personal daylight. The idea resurfaced in the early 20th century AD through William Willett in Britain, who campaigned for advancing clocks in summer so people could enjoy more daylight in the evenings. He argued it would improve health and productivity. The proposal initially failed, but then war changed everything. In 1916 AD, during World War I, Germany implemented daylight saving time in an attempt to conserve coal by reducing evening lighting demand. Other nations followed, including Britain and later the United States in 1918 AD. The logic was simple. If people have more daylight in the evening, they use less artificial lighting. At least, that was the theory. After the war ended, many countries repealed the practice. It was unpopular, confusing, disruptive. But the idea had already proven something important. Time could be legislated. Governments could move the clock, and people would adapt. One of the most persistent beliefs is that daylight saving time was created for farmers. It wasn't. In fact, many farmers opposed it. Agricultural work follows the sun, not the clock. Advancing clocks doesn't make crops grow differently. It simply shifts when markets open and transport schedules run. Farmers often found the time shift disruptive rather than helpful. The energy-saving argument became the dominant justification instead. But even that turned out to be more complicated than it seemed. In the early 20th century AD, lighting made up a larger portion of household energy consumption. Shifting daylight may have reduced some lighting use, but as technology evolved, air conditioning, electronics, heating systems, the energy equation changed. Modern studies have produced mixed results. Some show slight reductions in lighting use, but increases in heating or cooling demand. Others show negligible overall impact. The energy savings, if present, are modest. Which raises a bigger question. If the benefit is small and the disruption is real, why keep doing it? Time isn't just a number on a clock. It's biological. Human circadian rhythms are tied to light exposure. Shifting clocks forward by 1 hour in spring effectively forces millions of people to wake up earlier relative to sunrise. Studies have documented short-term increases in sleep disruption and workplace accidents in the days following the spring transition. Most alarmingly, researchers have noted a 24% spike in heart attack risks on the Monday immediately following the spring forward shift, as the sudden disruption of the body's rhythm puts a measurable strain on cardiovascular health. Losing 1 hour may sound trivial. Biologically, it isn't. The autumn shift, when we gain an hour, tends to produce fewer negative effects. But even then, the rhythm disruption is measurable. The system asks the human body to adjust instantly to what is essentially a forced time zone shift. Twice a year. Daylight saving time persists because undoing it is complicated. Businesses schedule around it. International trade synchronizes across it. Travel systems depend on it. But here's the part most people don't think about. Less than half the world actually shifts its clocks. Daylight saving time is used primarily in North America and Europe. The United States and Canada observe it in most regions. Much of Europe, including Germany, France, and United Kingdom, shifts together under coordinated seasonal rules. But most of Asia does not. Most of Africa does not. Brazil abolished it. Russia eliminated seasonal switching entirely. So twice a year, part of the planet changes time. The rest does nothing. That creates a moving target for global coordination. When the United States shifts in March, but Europe hasn't yet, the time difference between New York and London changes temporarily. Then Europe shifts. Then in autumn, they reverse, but not always on the same weekend. For a few weeks every year, the time gap between major financial centers quietly slides by an hour. International companies double-check meeting invites. Airlines schedule everything internally using coordinated universal time to avoid catastrophe. Software engineers build automated correction layers because humans are notoriously bad at remembering who switched and when. We call it standard time. It isn't global. It's regional agreement layered over planetary rotation. In the United States, the Uniform Time Act of 1966 standardized seasonal observance, though states can opt out. That's why most of United States shifts, while Arizona largely does not, and Hawaii does not at all. In Europe, similar debates continue about abolishing seasonal changes entirely. The issue isn't whether it was once useful, it's whether inertia is stronger than reform. Because once time systems become embedded in infrastructure, financial markets, airlines, broadcast schedules, international trade windows, changing them becomes more disruptive than keeping them, even if the original justification has faded. We say we're saving daylight. We're not. We're redistributing it. We're shifting human activity relative to sunrise and sunset for part of the year. Daylight doesn't increase. We just decide to label part of it differently. And that reveals something subtle. Time, at least civil time, is not purely natural. It's negotiated. We pretend it's fixed. We treat it like gravity. But twice a year, we demonstrate that it's adjustable. That realization unsettles people more than they realize. Some argue for permanent daylight saving time. Others argue for permanent standard time. Some want the entire system abolished. The debate continues because the original purpose, wartime energy conservation no longer feels urgent. But the social coordination problem remains. Modern life depends on shared timing. The question isn't whether we can move the clock. We already proved we can. The question is whether we still need to. That's today's episode of Guess What? If you enjoyed walking carefully through history with me, hit subscribe, because next time, who knows what we'll uncover? Until then, stay curious and remember that the clock on your wall is less permanent than it looks.